I'd like to call this meeting of the Hindley Homes Royal Building Committee to order 6:02 p.m. on Wednesday, March the 20th, 2024. First order of business is to approve the minutes of the meeting. I know the agenda says January 24th. I think the minutes we're approving are the March 6th minutes.
You are correct. My apologies.
I think we already approved January 24. So with the change to the agenda, we're approving the March 6th minutes. Could I get a motion, please? David moves, Jameson seconds, all in favor. Aye, approved unanimously. Great. Does not look like any members of the public are here, so we can skip public comment. Chair's report, super short. I think this meeting is going to be mostly in the nature of updates. We have one action item. So I really don't have anything specific as a chair's report. Jill, anything from your end?
No, thank you for asking.
So then I know hopefully folks will indulge me and allow me to go slightly out of order on the agenda, only because Dr. Adley let us know shortly before the meeting started that he had a bit of a time crunch and wanted to give us an update on a couple of things. So I will yield the balance of the chair's report to Dr. Adley to give us the update that he was looking to do.
Thank you, Chris. Actually, the workshop I'm going to, a parent workshop, is on AI, so it's an interesting workshop for people tonight. Anyway, thank you to Laurel, Travis, and Kevin, in particular, for providing the information I needed for the legislative part of this. I also want to recognize our representative, Tracy Mara, who is actually taking the lead on this with our delegation. So as of today, she has all the information. She said it's going to be added to the construction bill for this year. So that's a short session. It's over in May. So she is taking the lead on that, and that's good news. And we're in the process, and we'll go from there. We don't, at this point, I do not believe we need to do anything else unless I hear back from Tracy on anything. But she's pretty confident that that's going to move. Well, she's confident that's going to move forward.
So she thinks she has the full package to approve the revised budget and any scope changes.
Yeah, but she has the various information on whether it's the project number or whether it's the expenses are included and not included, and the new numbers and so on, and a wee bit of an update. So she has all the information she needs. She says the legislative language she can do, and they can put it in based on what we've provided.
Great. That's great news. That's terrific.
So we really maybe don't even have to submit the revised form, actually, proposal, because it's just going through the legislation.
Yeah, I guess I'm just unfamiliar with the process. It can go to the legislation without first being approved by what used to be called OSCG&R?
Yeah, well, they are fully supportive of it, but anything can be added into that construction bill at the end of the year.
Okay. No, great. That's terrific news. Travis, anything from your end on that front, or is that consistent with your information?
Yep.
Great.
I've been working with Alan and getting him what he needs.
Terrific.
I think, Alan, we should just make sure maybe we just want to confirm with Michelle that they don't need anything on their end.
I will do that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Based on our last discussion just about a week ago, I don't think that they do, but we'll confirm.
Perfect.
Yep. Can we confirm in writing just to be double sure, please, Alan?
No problem with that. Yep. Good.
Thank you.
Then if the ONGAP team would give us just an update, Scott, Laurel, Tom, on where things stand in terms of pre-construction prep. I know we have this one additional bid package to approve, or substitute bid package to approve, which we'll get to in a moment. But if you could give us an update on where you are in terms of letting the contracts and getting ready to get started, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll just start real quickly. Good evening. Still in the process of writing contracts. I'm giving myself basically till the end of this month. Have that one left for approval for tonight. But other than that, that's pretty much the extent of my involvement. Scott's pretty much heading up all other pre-construction activities, just getting us ready to get going on site.
And Scott, so yeah, maybe we'll just turn it over to you real briefly for an update on that front.
Yeah, so basically been doing the same thing that we were doing before. We're getting everybody onto our platform AConnect to access. Accesses all the construction documents. So we're in the process of getting the submittals in and getting the submittal workflows set up and the placeholders for them. So some of that stuff has been coming in. RFIs have been coming in, and we've been sending those over to the design team as well. We've also had a couple of coordination meetings. So we've started the coordination process for the modeling of the additions. And one of the other things that has changed a little bit from when we last spoke, and we thought that this was a better course of action, is initially we were going to start at the beginning of May to get the trailers set up on site. And we decided to, we talked to Kevin Murat about this, and we decided to, on April vacation, to do the actual cut through the stone walls and laying tracking pads to get the trailers in, because no one will be on site, and then this way we could bring in the machinery to take those walls down and put down the tracking pads, and then they'll sit like that until the beginning of May when the trailers do arrive.
And you're coordinating with Kevin on that in terms of minimizing disruption. Would that be before spring break or during spring break?
It'll be during that spring break, the week of the 15th. And yeah, we just thought of, like I said, it'd be better to do when nobody was there.
Right.
And then when we're done, we'll put up orange snow fence along the openings that we've made to keep them closed off. But where the trailers are going, there's no disruption to anything that the schools will be doing, from now until the end of the year.
Great. Why don't we, because that's a good segue to kind of communicating with neighbors and school communities and stuff like that. We'll get to that in a second, just so I don't get yelled at for bouncing around the agenda too much. Why don't we shift to this last trade contract? It's for casework and carpentry, correct, Laurel?
Yes, that's correct. And I can share my screen unless people have it. It's just a little package that we put together that basically has the 3 contract values for the 3 different schools. And this is where on 2 of the schools, Connecticut Carpentry was the other bidder. He ended up withdrawing his bids for Henley Homes. He was not low on Royal to begin with. So now all 3 contracts are going to go to the same trade contractor, Nova Wood Products. I also added a GMP cost summary sheet just so you see there will be $5,000 savings realized for each of the 3 schools. And that will get rolled up or captured in a future PCO that Scott will prepare. So it's just to approve this one last trade contractor. And this is the millwork.
But from a budgeting standpoint, that's now, do we treat that as savings that can then conceivably be allocated elsewhere if we find ourselves with an overrun? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I read the material. I read the materials. I didn't have any questions or comments. I'm sorry, Scott, go ahead. I cut you off.
Yeah, I apologize too. So Laurel, that was 5,000 per job, correct? So it's a total of 15,000.
That's correct. So yeah, our GMP is for all 3 schools, but everything has to be accounted for individually. So $5,000 per school. Yes.
Right. And so it is technically 3 separate bid packages. Although this is one who's going to cover, this is treated as a group, as a combined bid, right?
Correct.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or input on the proposed change in casework vendors. With that, then, could I get a motion to approve the replacement of Tom Harris moves? Let me just finish the motion real quick to replace Connecticut Cabinetry. Is that right? With Nova Woodworking.
You're not replacing, because I never presented them in the GMP. They were like cold. They were put in as hold. So you're just awarding this bid package to Nova.
Okay. Can I have a motion to award the bid package for architectural casework to Nova Woodworking? Tom moves. Jill seconds. All in favor? Aye. Sarah, I assume you're voting yes. Unanimous. So great. You can go ahead with that, Laurel.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
And yeah, so let's jump on to, let's get, as we're moving to things actually starting to happen on site, Jameson and Sarah have been working closely with Dave Cravanzola and the O&G folks in terms of preparing communications to the school community, to the neighbors around. And so rather than me trying to describe what they're doing, I'll turn it over to you guys. I know, Sarah, you're on the train. So Jameson, you're probably, if you don't mind, you're probably in the best position to give an update on where you are on that.
Yep, no problem. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, so we put together, with the help of ONGAP, a Good Neighbors flyer that will be distributed via email to the neighbors, that introduces them to Scott and some contacts from ONGAP. Sarah and I's name will be on there, as well as reps from this building committee, should they have any questions for us. I think we may add Kevin Munret to that list if he is okay with that, so that I think some neighbors know him already. Most neighbors know him already, and probably is a good contact to have on there. And then, thanks, Kevin. And then we will send that out, or ONGAP will send that out on our behalf. We plan to notify, either potentially with that email or with a different one, about the construction or the work being done to pave the way for the trailers during April break, so that they have some sort of marker for when they start seeing some things happening. They're aware of what's going on. Obviously, the intent of this is to give them some contact resources should they have any questions beyond the ones that they have already, but also make them aware that this project is actually is now starting. And then we are in the process, working with Dr. Adley, of coordinating a potential meeting, if needed, with the principals and any other admins at the schools, so that they can be aware of what's going to be going on at the schools. And if anything else, if they have any questions about the process. So I think that's it for now. We have we surveyed and got from Town Hall a list of within 100, I think it's within 100 feet of the project. So those that abut the properties within 100 feet, that's what Oxridge did. Unless anybody has any suggestions for going further than that, I think that's at least a good starting place to make neighbors aware.
Yeah, my only thought on that, and I think I communicated that by email a little earlier, was Holmes is a little bit of an anomaly, because you have the former Curtis property to the north of the campus, and your 100 feet would take you just to the Curtis property. And I was thinking it might make sense to bring in the people on Lake Drive, the south side of Lake Drive, that abut the former Curtis property, because there's going to be work going on essentially in their backyards, even though they are technically outside of
we can do that.
Okay, great. Yeah, they're technically outside of the 100-foot radius, but knowing that they've been active and involved to this point, it might be a good thing to do.
Yeah, we'll make sure they're on there.
Okay. And then in terms of the communication with principals and faculty, I know we did that last spring, early summer. I guess technically speaking, we don't really need to do that again, because the scope isn't going to really change. The staging and the phasing is not going to change. My only thought there is, we have some new folks, right? We have some new teachers. We have, obviously, Jennifer's going to be new at Hindley while this is going on. And, I kind of defer to Dr. Adley as to whether he thinks it would make sense to reprise some version of those update meetings.
Totally. Yep. Yes, absolutely. Both for staff who have forgotten, changed, parents. We're not going to lose by redoing that again. In fact, I've told the parents in the communication last week that after the April break, we'll be scheduling something.
Okay. Yeah, I just think, I think again, because there's some new faces that will be there. And parents were invited. Not that many showed up. It was really, I think, for the benefit of the faculty and the staff at the 3 schools. But I know you have some new folks. So, any questions from committee members or others on Jameson's report in terms of communication to the neighbors and others? Go ahead, Jill.
Just to comment on the scheduling of the parent meetings, I think we found May to be a little bit late because May tends to be tougher for parents. So I think if we could be organized kind of right on the heels of April break or shortly thereafter. I don't know if that works with what we want to communicate, but if it does, the turnout was particularly low.
Do you want parents as well? So the meeting I was referring to was to get admin and staff and principals all on the same page as to how the construction is going to start progressing. Are you saying that you think we should have that with parents there as well, or do a separate one with parents?
Last year we did 2 separate ones, but consecutively. So
Okay.
We did a one for staff that all staff attended, and then parents were invited to a PTO meeting immediately afterwards. Or short, or I think it was a half-hour lag. And they were not well attended, perhaps because people didn't want to go to a building committee presentation. But on the off chance that the problem is May, which tends to be difficult there's just a lot going on in May. If we could try to do April, again, provided that works with us being able to communicate appropriately regarding construction.
Okay. Sarah and I will work with Dr. Adley and figure out what works best for him and his team.
Thank you.
Yep. And I thought the communication that's going to be sent out was very well done. It was well put together. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the work.
Yeah, no, for sure. Good job. Anything else on communications from anybody? With that, Laurel, I know you sent, maybe you can share your screen and just briefly run through it. You sent an updated timeline. If you were able to put that up.
Yes, Jill, can you give me access?
I'm sure that I can.
Just give us a few minutes on that.
Sarah, what do I do?
Hang on, you're going to go to her name in the participant list, and you're going to go to the right. There should be a couple of dots, and then you're going to allow them to allow her to share screen.
Or presenter.
You can even make her host.
I have to make her host. Okay.
Yep, and then you can hand it back after.
Okay, Laurel.
That's fine with me. I hope I know how to do it. Okay, I'm the host now. So let me try sharing my screen. Share. And then can you see what I have up?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, that's the trade package. So I think we want to, there we go. Perfect.
Yeah, so I don't know how well you can read this. I just tried to put in the dates, the history of where we got to where we were.
Yeah.
And then we have basically all the way up until starting work on site is this whole procurement process. Not that it's gonna continue after that, but the major effort, the heavy lift for all 3 schools will basically be done. This is all the submittals and shop drawings. Here is the issuing of contracts. Here's our meeting tonight. And then I know in the minutes you guys mentioned about how you've established a work group. I'm not sure if that's all buttoned up and ready. We were just giving you some time to make sure that everything is on its, you have a system in place for when Scott's
Yeah, I
gonna
think
need to
that's,
pay
I think
out.
that's been, but yeah, I think in terms of the approval levels and the process, that's been voted on and approved at the last meeting.
Okay. So I had put that on. Again, just reiterating what Scott had mentioned earlier, above ceiling coordination, preparing shop drawings for the additions. That's basically underway. We have April vacation time period where there's going to be some investigations, and what Scott had mentioned also is a little bit of site work. And then we have for our dates of actually showing up on the schools with the trailers in May. And then I'm sure there's moving that's going to be happening as you go, but just making sure that there is that line item about the owner getting out of wherever the phase 1 construction areas are at all 3 schools. And I know they did a really good job at each of the schools last year, but in case anybody crept in, it's time to empty them again. And again, we have our start construction on site of all 3 schools. So this is really just the general items that are going to be happening between now and when we're starting construction on site. And Scott, I don't know if you wanted to.
I'm sorry, could you just elaborate on procurement? What is procurement entail?
Do you want to talk about it, Scott? You want me to?
You can keep going.
Okay, so it is if in case you're not aware, there are technical specifications, and each of the technical specifications, whether it's masonry, concrete, steel, they all require submittals and or shop drawings. So every piece of material, every piece of equipment that's getting incorporated into the project, they have to be formalized, product data. Sometimes you need shop drawings, like in the case of casework, cabinetry, you need shop drawings. And all of that needs to get to the architect and or design team, the engineers, and they need to bless it, accept it. So that whole process takes time. First, once you've awarded a contract, the contractors have to prepare this paperwork. Then it needs to be submitted. The design team needs to review it. Sometimes they come back and they need to fix things. So it's a whole process. Once there's an approved submittal and or shop drawing, that's when they actually order the equipment. So that's the trigger for if we have anything that has a delivery lead time, you have to go through the whole process before something can be ordered. So to make sure we have everything that we need for actually when we physically start on site, that takes a while.
Okay.
Kevin and Alan, given that school now ends on the 14th, that move out date of the 10th to the 14th works for us?
Well, that's what I was going to mention, and I think Laurel knows that it's relatively the 14th that you'll have to wait to get access, like the 17th, really, like unless you're working the weekend. So as long as you know that, depending on what construction areas phase out move-in means, if we can do some things, yes, but you're just not going to get access to the place until. But I think you know that anyway, right? 17th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we plan on when we start on the 17th, we'll be starting temporary fencing outside and
that's fine.
starting the preparation for the additions. We won't be jumping right into the school on the 17th, knowing that there's going to be some things that you guys need to take care of in that first couple of weeks.
And again, it was limited areas within each existing school, and a lot of it already occurred last summer because there was a preparation going on. So there's not too heavy of a lift here for this particular summer for moving.
Okay.
A lot of it was purging too, which I know the school did a great job of last year. So
Right, but they got to update that because there's 1 year's more accumulation of stuff. Right.
No, that reflects what we talked about.
Right. Okay. Any other questions from folks on the timeline and what is planned between now and the start of construction in June?
And I can also let you know that once construction starts on site, we will be doing monthly construction management reports.
Right.
And there will be a schedule update. So as you move into construction, there will be a sort of a snapshot of where we are in time with the construction activities. So I'm not reflecting the construction schedule at this point. Again, just getting us to the start of construction, but you will be updated formally as the construction is going on with the construction schedules of each of the 3 schools. So
that was a question I had. I know it's still early and things can be a little fluid, but doing a version of this for construction, maybe at least through the summer, so that we can see what's anticipated as we get closer to the start of construction, that might be helpful.
Yeah, I can get you guys an updated full construction schedule.
Great.
I would agree with that. I also would add that it would be helpful just to have sort of the high level that sits on the plan, kind of what the major tranches are, so that anytime any of us looks at this, we can see that summer 1 is ABC, and then you don't have to fill out all the dates underneath it, but during the year, just so we can see at a high level what year 1 is, what summer 2 is, because we're often asked questions, when is the library? And it would be nice to have a document to go back to. Please.
Yep, we can take care of that for you.
Thank you.
Yep, perfect. Anything else from anybody before we wrap?
I did distribute updated logistics plans. I don't know if everybody got to see those or not, but those are accurate to date.
Great. All righty. I guess before we adjourn, the last thing is to maybe target. Does it make sense to target one more meeting before spring break?
Yeah, I think so.
And break starts the 13th of it. I'm sorry.
Week of the 15th.
15th.
Right.
Week of the
Okay.
15th.
So maybe we should do something on the 10th before, if that works for folks, for quick updates. I think it's going to be more in the nature of updates.
Yeah, I'm also going to have one. I'm going to have to submit on a payment for the switchgear that was ordered last year.
Yep.
So I wanted to get that to you guys before that meeting.
And is that something, Travis, that we would submit for reimbursement to the state?
Yeah, it's part of it's a normal requisition on the project.
I guess the question is, do we wait till we have some critical size or mass before we submit, or I guess we have to wait till it's approved in the legislature. Assuming it's approved in the legislature. Now that's kind of one of those rubber meets the road questions. Who's going to prepare the actual submissions to the state from time to time once expenses are approved?
I don't know who did it for the Ox Ridge project.
Generally goes through Jan from the town.
Okay. Okay. So we can make that decision once we get the invoice from Scott.
I mean, Scott, that's going to be a normal pay rec, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we approved the purchase of the switchgear almost a year ago. So now it's, I guess, actually about to be delivered and paid for. So.
Yep, and there's allowances that were also associated with that switchgear, and there will be some fees associated with those allowances.
Okay. All good.
Scott, when do we expect to start seeing some shop drawings coming through?
I know that the steel guys are all working on shop drawings. I believe they've all sent in RFIs. I know that they're working on them. I expect those within the next 2 weeks. And then also in about another week, we should be getting rebar shop drawings.
So you're going to start issuing a schedule so that we have an idea as to when and where we're going to be receiving them?
Yeah, sure.
Just want to forewarn the team so that we can turn around shop drawings relatively quickly. If we get forewarning, we can make sure that everybody's aware and ready for them.
Yeah, sure. We can get that sent over to you.
Thanks.
Great. So Sarah, would you mind when you get it? Obviously, you're still traveling. Let's circle April the 10th for our next meeting.
Of course.
Perfect. Okay, with that, could I get a motion to adjourn? Jill moves, Sarah seconds, all in favor? Aye. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good evening, and we'll talk in a couple of weeks.